Last shape that we have to do for 6th grade is a trapezoid. We did parallelograms, triangles, trapezoids as well. For the most part, the most common way you'll see a trapezoid is looking like this. Kind of looks like a triangle with the top cut off, right? Sometimes you see them where they look kind of like a right triangle with one of the corners cut off, but either one works. There are a couple different ways you can find the area. One way is to use the formula. I'll get that for you in a second. The other way is you can kind of chop it into pieces and find the area of each one of the pieces. So if I drew a line here, you see I got a rectangle and I got 2 triangles, right? So if I find the area of the rectangle, I find the area of the 2 triangles, I would add them up. Not horrible. Me, I think it's easier just to use the formula though, okay? So middle of that sheet there, trapezoid is 1 or 2 triangles. Depends on how it looks, but it's 1 or 2 triangles and a rectangle combined. So any trapezoid, any way it looks, is at least 1 triangle and 1 rectangle smushed together. Sometimes it's 2 like the one I just kind of cut up, but the formula for trapezoid, it looks a little weird compared to some of the others. So it's A equals, and then it has some parentheses. In the parentheses, it's B1 plus B2. And then it's multiplied by height and divided by 2. The reason it says B1 and B2 like that is trapezoids have 2 bases. B1, obviously then is the first base. B2 is the second base. So every trapezoid has 2 bases. That's what's in parentheses for the formula. What do parentheses mean for math? You do it first. So the adding has to get done first. Okay? So if we go back to this picture here, my 2 bases are the top and the bottom. The bases are always parallel, okay? So they're the 2 sides that are parallel. Usually you'll see them as 2 horizontal or 2 vertical lines. But they're always the 2 parallel sides. Then height, obviously by now, is H. H is height. The height still has to make a 90-degree angle with the bases, okay? So just like with the parallelogram, just like with the triangle, base and height make 90-degree angles. Any questions on that? All right, so even though we got that formula, we're not going to use exactly the formula. I'm going to show you how to do this with doing it in pieces, okay? So we're going to do 3 steps each time. The first step always has to be adding the bases. So this is at the top of your sheet. Our 2 bases are the 8 and the 16. So my first step is just 8 plus 16. 8 plus 16 is 24. If that number is even, 24 is even, divide. So 24 divided by 2 gives me 12. Then you multiply by the height. 12 times 6, give me 72. And that's it. That's the area of that trapezoid. Okay? You see how I got 3 steps there? Adding has to get done first every time. If it's even, it's usually a good idea to divide first, or second, I guess. Then you would multiply by the height. If when you add the 2 bases, like we're about to see on this one, I add my 2 bases. In this case, I've got an odd number. If you get an odd number, you don't want to divide first, okay? Or you don't want to divide with the next step. If you divide an odd number by 2, you're going to get something 0.5. And that just makes it harder for the multiplying the next part. So we multiply by the height. So when we do 23 times 8, we got 184. Then we can divide that by 2. In this case, that gives us 92. The most important thing is we have to do the adding first, okay? Have to add the bases first. After you add the bases, whether you divide by 2 or multiply by the height, it doesn't really matter. When you're working without a calculator, if it's an even number, it's going to be easier to divide first. Just gives you smaller numbers, okay? Any questions on that? Everybody kind of follow? 8 divided by, you're asking if I would have taken my height and divided by 2? Yeah, you could have done 8 divided by 2 and got 4, and then multiplied that by the sum. That would have worked also, yes. Yeah, that works. That'll work every time as well. So if the height is even, you could divide by the height and then multiply by the sum. That would work. Any other questions? All right, on the, or towards the bottom, you got 2 trapezoids there. Formula, A equals, we put parentheses. You don't have to necessarily number the bases when you're writing it here. So we got A equals base plus base in parentheses times the height divided by 2. Same idea for the other one. A equals base plus base times height divided by 2. Go ahead and give those 2 a try then. Each one of those has an extra number that you will not use, though. Who thinks they have the area for number 1? Ford? 40 is correct. All right, so our bases, we got to add them first. So we got 7 plus 13. 7 plus 13 is 20. If we divide by 2 then, 20 divided by 2 is 10. 10 times 4, 40. Any questions on that one? Number 2, not necessarily trickier, it just has a decimal. Who thinks they got that one? Gray? 22.4 is correct. So similar idea, add our bases, that gives you 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. And then you got to do 3.2 times 7. Decimal 1 spot, so 22.4. Okay? This isn't anything that's super difficult math to do. It's just adding one more step kind of to the triangles or a couple steps to the parallelograms and rectangles. All right, this one's not on your sheet. Which ones are my bases? Yeah, just call it out. 5 and 9, 9 and 5, order don't really matter, right? So we add first, right? So 9 plus 5 is? Now what? All right, we divide by 2. And now? Multiply by the height. 7 times 6 is? 42. Okay? That's it. It's just going through the steps each time. It's not supposed to be anything difficult to do each step. It's just we got to go in the right order, and that means making sure we do that addition first. Any questions on that one?